Beyond the Grotto does not qualify as a guest-directed episode that is seen as non-canon, or in one case in particular, as non-existent. No, its inception, along with the writing and storyboarding, was done by familiar names who have long since worked on multitudes of Adventure Time episodes. Beyond the Grotto is unique, however, because the majority of the episode was guest animated by Lindsay Small and Small-Butera, who are known for their web series Bam Pydaman, which is a web series I have not seen, but judging by this episode, I should give it a shot. The guest animation has a visual flair unlike any Adventure Time has seen before, and while Masaaki Yuasa's phenomenal work on Food Chain remains as my favorite guest animation, the effort of Small-Butera comes in at a very close second. Their style matches surprisingly well with the feel of Adventure Time, and I really dig the mixture of smooth, dynamic motion with a jittery, nearly pulsating effect present on all the characters. Even when the characters are staying still, the pulsing and the movement of the lines exudes a sensation of vivacity and whimsy that greatly helped establish the feel of the strange world Finn and Jake found themselves in. On the other hand, the backgrounds are in stark contrast to the characters. The backgrounds are made up of simple and relatively smooth shapes, which make the jagged character outlines really stand out, yet somehow without those characters feeling out of place. Matt Cummings is the one who created these interesting backgrounds, and they play a major role in having the visuals melt together into a feast for the senses. And the colors! The world starts off quite vibrant, but after Finn and Jake encounter the purple stuff, the utilization of color becomes more reductionist. It feels like Finn and Jake have become lost in this world from the color schemes alone. I'm just giving a brief outline of my thoughts here, but entire essays could be written about the visual aesthetic of Beyond the Grotto. This is definitely the standout trait of this episode. Other than the zany visuals, another stellar component of the episode is the impeccable manner in which the pacing and the world which Finn and Jake wind up in reflect each other. The guest animated portion of the episode moved along at a tempo I would describe as predominantly pleasant and leisurely. Just like the nature of the alternate reality, the pacing lulled the viewer into a sense of laid-back, yet spellbound comfort. However, there was this slight background feeling of unease and awkwardness to the pacing as well, which reflects the subdued danger and darkness of this world, which is easy to get lost in without ever realizing you're lost in the first place. I'm actually quite flabbergasted how amazingly well elements of the pacing matched attributes of the world, and for me, this harmony really helped drive the enjoyment factor beyond what visuals alone can accomplish. Now that I've gushed over the presentation, the story itself isn't exactly anything to be put on a pedestal. Finn and Jake are tired of the sea lard Finn won in a raffle during the episode Princess Potluck. It's been ending up in Finn's bed recently. I personally think it just wanted a cuddle. But Finn and Jake find the lard gross and want to get rid of it. The scene is really reminiscent of people who get extravagant pets they initially think are cool, but with time grow tired of it and want to release it so they don't have to care for it any longer. After tossing the sea lard into the pond outside the treehouse, Shelby's nerdish tone makes Finn and Jake worried that they're killing their former pet, so they jump in to save him. The sea lard, meanwhile, is trying to escape Finn and Jake since they've insulted it and tossed it away like yesterday's garbage, so at that point, why would it want to return to them? After some really comical scenes with the water nymphs who are making hot dogs out of frogs, the sea lard enters a portal to another world, which is an alternate reality version of Ooh, where everything is familiar, but very different. This is likely one of those portals between worlds that is constantly fixed in place, and if you want a brief reminder on portals, I suggest you rewatch the episode The Lich. The world of this alternate dimension is inherently very easy to get carried away in, so Finn and Jake have serious trouble focusing on their task of getting the lard, despite help from the world's inhabitants. And despite the water nymph's warning, Finn and Jake do come in contact with the purple stuff, which completely dooms them. While their personalities remain intact, for example, they still jump at the chance to help those in need, this purple substance makes them forget their own names, who they are, where they came from, or what their goal is. They've become lost in this world without even realizing it. Despite BMO's thinly veiled message that basically translates to "get the hell out of here," Finn and Jake lost all volition to leave this world, which was brilliantly signified by the purple coloration in this scene. Finn and Jake were doomed. They had embraced the purple and no longer had the capability to egress on their own. The sea lard ended up being the hero because he comprehended the situation and chose to rescue our duo, which he still clearly cared about, despite having been thrown away and insulted earlier. Beyond the Grotto does qualify as an episode where there is more style over substance. We've got a central plotline with a couple simple moral messages. Finn and Jake's portion of the story was about being more appreciative of others and not belittling them, whereas the Sea Lard's portion of the story was about not giving up on those who've wronged you. Layered atop this basic plotline was very creative imagery and visuals, but any overarching allegories, metaphors, or deep explorations of themes are absent. The episode can easily be described as a visual feast for the senses, but I wouldn't call it an intellectual feast for the mind. The subtext we do have is mostly limited to characteristics of some of the Adventure Time cast, manifesting in interesting ways in the alternate world equivalents of these characters, and I would like to briefly discuss a few of them before I conclude this review. Princess Bubblegum as a pond actually makes a whole lot of sense if you recall the reason PB wanted to build an empire in the first place.
I was formed in the mother gum. My mind and my gum were in touch with dozens of others, like a crowded womb. I guess I missed that.
Bonnie yearned to experience the feeling she had as a collective existence, so she created a kingdom to experience that sort of bond with others. A pond is not only an ecosystem all on its own containing much life and biodiversity, but depending on the dryness of the region, they can be vital and life-saving watering holes for tons of terrestrial animals. Alternate PB being a pond is spot on to encapsulate the desire to have a close bond with many other individuals, as PB described in the episode Bonnie and Nettie. Marceline being a flower that sings about wanting to be something else despite actually being content with her identity was an amusing self-depreciating jab at Marceline's angsty songs about how life stinks. Now don't get me wrong, there is legitimate sadness that her inspiration stems from, but channeling that into an art is a creative outlet that can actually bring joy despite the depressing nature of the music itself. And of course, the desire for a different identity harks back to the pre-stakes Marceline when she was struggling with her immortality. The singing flower might simply be reminding us that just because Marceline has become more comfortable and accepting of her self-identity by the end of Stakes, it doesn't mean Marceline will stop writing mopey and depressing songs about the hardships of life from a vampire's perspective. And I guess I should also mention Princess Purple Patch, though she is quite straightforward in her relation to Ice King. She's got a Gunter-like equivalent, is prone to compulsive behavior she knows will make her unhappy, and in a reversal of Ice King's own memory loss, Triple P instead afflicts memory loss onto others. The rest of the characters, such as Lady Rainicorn as a butterfly that makes out with Jake's face, or Bush Boots and her husband, they are super basic and practically one-to-one equivalents with their Land of Ooh counterparts. So, my verdict for Beyond the Grotto is that it's a nice, pleasant episode, with some darker undertones, of course, as is par for the course with Adventure Time. I personally did not find this episode phenomenal or anything on that level, but it was an enjoyable and charming watch, and I would give it a big thumbs up.